On February 24th of 2020, Sarah Boone would wake up at 12:30 p.m. to several missed calls from her ex-husband Brian. Ignoring the calls, she would go downstairs. Something wasn't right. She couldn't put her finger to it, but it came to her slowly. Her boyfriend was nowhere to be found. As she walked down the steps, memories of the previous night would slowly come back to her. They had been playing hide-and-go-seek while drinking a bottle of wine. As a prank, Sarah would tell Jorge Torres to climb into a nearby suitcase. After he did so, she zipped it up and they both laughed about how absurd the situation was. She partially unzipped the suitcase for him to get out and then went to bed. Once she remembered all of this, she went to the living room to check, only to find that he was still in the suitcase. She unzipped it, finding his cold, dead body inside. In a panic, she would contact Brian, who arrived only a few minutes later. Brian would urge Sarah to contact 911. Brian, feeling uncomfortable, would leave the home and wait outside until police arrived. However, Sarah would soon be arrested and taken into custody. She would allege that the entire thing was a misunderstanding, that she simply forgot Jorge in the suitcase and fell asleep. Regardless, she would be taken to the police station and interrogated. Before all of this, Sarah had previously been married to Brian. Together they would have a child named Lucas. Unfortunately, this would end up leaving Sarah feeling trapped. Alcohol had always been a part of Sarah's life. However, it was due to this feeling of being trapped that she began to drink excessively. Brian would state that over the years, this would get worse and worse. Not only that, but she would get extremely angry whenever she drank. Brian would later admit that Sarah would punch and claw at him to the point where he had scratches on his neck. This would occur on a regular basis. It got to the point where even on weekdays, she would stay out late and party, sometimes until 3 a.m. This is the time the bars would close. Even then, she would want the parties to continue and would bring random strangers back to her home. This happened so often and got so bad that at one point a stranger entered the home screaming at the top of his lungs for Sarah. Brian would later tell police that Sarah couldn't even control herself around one glass of wine at a dinner party. After she had consumed even a small portion of alcohol, she would continue drinking until she blacked out. Sometime during the relationship, Brian would need a break from the chaos. With that, he would separate from Sarah, moving in with his parents. It was at this point that Sarah would meet Jorge. Unfortunately, this relationship would be one and the same as the last. Things would turn turbulent quickly. Both would drink heavily and get into violent altercations. During Sarah's drunken fights with Jorge, she would call Brian and tell him that she needed to escape the relationship. During this time, Brian would be the one to take Lucas more often due to Sarah wanting to stay up late and party. In fact, Lucas would often call his father because of the toxic environment within the home. All of this would escalate until the night Jorge got into the suitcase. After the police arrived, Sarah would claim that she and Jorge spent the evening playing puzzles, painting, doing arts and crafts, as well as getting ready to do donations. After that, like fully grown adults do, they would play hide-and-go-seek. Regardless, the following is Sarah's account of how Jorge got into this suitcase.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
You were just explaining to me the night.
Oh, he decided to hide in there. So, being silly, he and I were sitting there laughing at it, like with him in there. And then, so I didn't zip it up all the way, but I mean enough to where his little fingers were out there and whatever, but still having a good time and whatever. Then I guess I decided to go upstairs, and I don't know, I fell asleep. So I woke up this morning and again thought he was downstairs on the laptop looking for a job, as he usually is. And then thought, where is he? Is he on the back porch? Is he in the bathroom? Like, where is he? And then I came to about the suitcase. So I opened the suitcase. I took him out, stretched him out, started to do CPR. Where air was coming out, and then like whatever gurgle. So I'm trying to do CPR on him. I'm shaking him, trying to get him to come to, but I could tell by looking at him, something was wrong. He's been losing his teeth lately and has been complaining about his chest hurts, which is why I keep trying to get him to go to the doctor, but because he nor I have a job or insurance, has been putting it off. So I didn't know what to do, so I called Brian, my ex-husband. I called him, he came over, just walked in and then walked out. I grabbed my phone and I called you guys.
In the same interview, she later claims that she left the suitcase partially unzipped, enough for him to stick 2 or 3 fingers through. Even if this is the complete and utter truth, it is very stupid. Being trapped in the suitcase, Jorge wouldn't be able to move any part of his body in order to unzip the suitcase the rest of the way. Now, despite Sarah claiming that she and Jorge played arts and crafts and puzzle games, her next-door neighbor would reveal the truth. This neighbor named Vincent would admit to police that Sarah and Jorge would go at it every night. He would hear both physical and verbal fights from both of them, with bodies being thrown against walls and several times down the stairs. Not only this, but Vincent would state that surrounding neighbors were so used to the violence that they completely stopped calling the police due to being tired of it. During investigation, police would find the following video on Sarah's phone.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
Sarah. I can't fucking breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Reel around some. Might want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Reel around some.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah. I
Fuck
can't
you.
fucking breathe, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut the fuck up.
Sarah.
Now with Jorge, court documents would later reveal the true violence that took place within the relationship. As stated before, both would physically assault each other. In one situation, Jorge had dragged Sarah upstairs before kicking her in her eye. In another incident, Jorge would stab Sarah in the leg with a steak knife. After the police were called, Jorge would claim that Sarah had attempted to strangle him. Events like this were not uncommon. Neighbors would later report that they could hear constant screaming and yelling coming from the apartment. Sarah's next-door neighbor would later state that around 11 p.m. on the night of Jorge's death, there was a loud crashing sound coming from Sarah's staircase. This, combined with the fact that Jorge was found to have head injuries, makes it entirely possible that she pushed him down the stairs while he was still zipped up in the suitcase. An autopsy would show that Jorge spent 11 hours in that position. According to sources, a medical report also showed that he had a black eye and other bruises and cuts on his head. The same report would go on to say his back and hands also had abrasions, bruises, and cuts, indicating blunt impacts around the body. After interrogation, Sarah would be arrested and is currently in jail. As of the writing of this script, Sarah is scheduled for trial on October 2nd, 2023.